What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Acts of Vengeance, and now we pick up with some Captain America. Yes, we do. Now, when it comes to today's video, it is going to be about how the Red Skull had actually joined the Acts of Vengeance group. How was he recruited, and why was he recruited? But on top of that, we're going to see Captain America fight against one of his old allies, and that is going to be Namor. Namor also gets involved in Acts of Vengeance, but the question is why? And why is he going after Steve Rogers? Those questions are going to be answered in today's video. I do hope you enjoy. And so getting into today's storyline, we actually pick up with the Red Skull. Now, when it comes to the Red Skull, he's talking to Crossbones because he was just informed of the recent breakout at the Vault. And matter of fact, we covered that breakout back in our first chapter of Acts of Vengeance. That kind of helped the villains begin the process of trying to go after different heroes in Marvel Comics. But when it comes to the Red Skull, he wants Crossbones to head over to the Vault to see if there are any criminals that could be very useful for the Red Skull and his master plan. And so you have Crossbones leave to go complete that assignment. Now, right after Crossbone leaves, you did have the Red Skull be confronted by our mysterious character. This guy who has been going around recruiting different big-time villains to work together to get rid of the heroes, like Magneto, our Kingpin, Doctor Doom. Now, here's the catch, though, because when it comes to our mysterious character, he has every single person that he had recruited believe that they are in charge. But in reality, he is in charge. He is using them as a way to get rid of every single hero that had basically stopped him over the years. Now, when it comes to the Red Skull, he is trying to recruit him. But the Red Skull is freaking out because every single time the Red Skull trying to trap our mysterious character, he is able to use magic to get around every single trap the Red Skull has. But he does to the Red Skull, hey man, listen, I'm here to recruit you. I'm here to help you get revenge against the people who had always stand in your way when it came to reaching your goals. If you're ready to join us, just walk through that door right there. But now we pick up with Steve Rogers, who's currently with a character known as Diamondback. Now, when it comes to Diamondback, she was actually part of the Serpent Society, an evil group in Marvel Comics. But around this time in Marvel Comics, she was actually changing sides, trying to become a good guy and possibly a love interest for Steve Rogers. Yes, you heard that right. Now, when it comes to our two characters, they do arrive back at Avengers Island. Now, when they do arrive, well, technically, they kind of find out the island was sunk. Because remember, back in the early parts of our coverage over Acts of Vengeance, we had saw an army of robots actually attack the island, which led to the island being sunk down to the bottom of the bay. And so you have Steve Rogers not believing in the fact that his base, the Avengers base, is no longer around. But you have Jarvis say, yeah, man, it's gone. It's completely wrecked. We gotta find a new place to actually stay. And when it comes to Steve Rogers, he wants to move over to the headquarters of the Fantastic Four. But now we have to jump over to Namor, who is currently just swimming around. Now, when it comes to Namor, he is confronted by our mysterious character, except this time our mysterious character appears as a shadow-like figure who's coming to Namor to recruit Namor into the Acts of Vengeance group. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to Namor, he would go back and forth between being good and bad, a true anti-hero. But around this time in Marvel Comics, he was trying to be a better person after trying to go to war against the surface world. And so with them trying to be a better person, when it comes to our mysterious character trying to recruit Namor, Namor says, no, why in the world would I join you for? And just swims away. But now we have to jump back over to Crossbones. And we do see Crossbones being able to find at least one escapee from the actual vault, and that would be the Controller. Now, when it comes to the Controller, he first appeared back in Iron Man number 12. Now, he's one of those, I say, obscure characters, but at the same time, he's still very interesting and could be a very powerful threat if used the correct way. Now, when it comes to the Controller, he has the ability to control other people, hence the name, but he has to put on a slave disc on the back of their neck to be able to control them. But at the same time, he's also able to absorb their energy as well, or take in their strength and add it to his own, and which again could make him a very powerful threat if he is used in the correct way. But of course, you have Crossbones being able to capture the Controller and tell him, hey, my boss wants you to work for him. He got some big plans coming very soon. But getting back over to Namor, you have Namor being able to find Avengers Island at the bottom of the bay. And when it comes to Namor, he's kind of like, what the heck happened to the island? Like, why in the world is it the bottom of the bay? What in the world happened here recently? But while he is trying to investigate the area, well, out of nowhere, you have the Controller arrive and being able to place a slave disc at the back of the neck of Namor. And that is going to be a huge problem, because you have Steve Rogers get word that Namor was at the bottom of the bay. And as Steve Rogers, he knows that it was Namor trying to find Avengers Island, not knowing that it had recently sunken. Either way, you have Steve Rogers head over to where Namor could possibly be at. But out of nowhere, you have Namor begin to attack Steve Rogers. Now, this is Steve Rogers trying his best to play defense, because Namor's strength is on a whole complete different level than Steve Rogers. And so our hero is struggling, but he is trying his best. Now, here's the thing, because in the middle of the battle, you have Steve Rogers realize that there is a slave disc on the back of the neck of Namor, which explains why Namor is trying to attack Steve Rogers. And so you have Steve being able to use his shield to actually hit the slave disc, which apparently just stops Namor right in his track, and he falls straight to the ground, passes out, just like that, knocked out. And you have Steve Rogers wondering, okay, what can I do to help free my friend from this slave disc? In the last page of this chapter, we do see the Red Skull joining the Acts of Vengeance group, getting ready to possibly cause some big problems for our heroes down the road. But now we have to jump into Captain America number 366, where we do pick up with Steve Rogers meeting up with Hank Pym. And you have the two guys trying to find the best way to remove the slave chip off the neck of Namor. But you do have Hank Pym tell Steve Rogers that if they do try to remove the slave chip, it could most likely do some serious damage to Namor's mind and the rest of his body. And so you have Steve Rogers saying the only way to safely remove the actual chip is to find the Controller. And so now they are going to begin their hunt for the Controller. And speaking of the Controller, we see him going after Thor. Now, when it comes to the Controller, his next goal is to control the mind of Thor like he currently is when it comes to Namor. Except when it comes to the Controller, he realized that Thor is fighting against the Juggernaut. And we will talk about that battle in a couple videos from now. But when it comes to the Controller, his main goal is to go after Thor, but he's then confronted by Crossbones, who then informs the Controller, hey man, listen, the boss wants to see you back at the base at this moment. Now, when it comes to the Controller, he's kind of like, listen, I have a goal in mind at the moment, and that is to control the mind of that guy right there. Once I've done that, then I'll go back and see the boss. But of course, you have Crossbones say, no, you have to go now. And boss kind of knew that you might not try to come unless we forced you to come. And that is when Crossbones introduced another character better known as the Voice. Now, when it comes to the Voice, he's not really a big time character. Matter of fact, his only ability is to use his voice to control the minds of people. But here's the problem. You see, if somebody's wearing earplugs or, they're too far away to hear him, then his powers cannot work. Or let's say he goes to a concert. The music being too loud will basically block out his voice. Either way though, he's able to use his voice on the controller to make him fall back in line. Now, when it comes to Steve Rogers, he was able to find the controller by following the signal that was coming from Namor's slave ship back to its original point, which would be the controller. Now, once you have Steve being able to board the aircraft of Crossbones, you have Steve fight against the controller. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to the controller, his main goal is to take over the mind of the Avengers, every single member of that team. But when he looks at Steve Rogers, he says, well, listen, dude, you are the weakest member of the Avengers. I don't really see a purpose or a reason to actually take over your mind, but you know what? I'm still gonna do it because you never know, I might need you for something else down the road. Now, when it comes to Steve Rogers, he does a great job in defending himself against the controller, but also making sure the Voice is knocked out so that the Voice cannot use his ability to control the mind of Steve Rogers. Now, once you have Steve being able to take out the Voice, he does shift his focus back onto the controller, and their battle leaves the aircraft and lands in a nearby park. Now, while you have the two characters fighting against each other, you have the controller actually being able to place a slave chip on the back of the neck of Steve Rogers. But you didn't have Crossbones say, hey, we gotta leave, boss wants us now. And so they leave. But to the controller, he believes that he was able to place a slave chip on the back of the neck of Steve Rogers to take over his mind. But Steve had placed a metal plate on the back of his neck to block the chip. So when it comes to the controller, he has no idea that he actually did not take over the mind of Steve Rogers. But now Steve Rogers can use the chip to find a way to stop the controller and possibly the Red Skull and Crossbones as well. Now, to wrap up today's video, we jump back over to the Red Skull. Now, when it comes to the Red Skull, his main goal is to, well, use the controller to control the mind of our mysterious character, which honestly could have worked, but our mysterious character is immune to the powers of the controller. And so when they try to do it, he's all like, dude, this is not gonna work on me, and I knew you were somebody I couldn't trust. That's why I chose you to join my Acts of Vengeance group. Now, when it comes to the Red Skull, he is not gonna give up at all. He is going to try again to find a way to control the mind of our mysterious character. But that ends today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.